Hey guys, welcome to Science with Conscience, where we discuss new feats and achievements in the field of science, but leave you in the end with a morally stimulating mind buster. So, today we are going to discuss how the Perseverance Rover was able to extract oxygen on Mars. But most of you may not know what the Perseverance Rover is, so let me sum it up for you. The Perseverance rover's job is to land on Mars and search for signs of ancient life and for samples of rock and regolith. Your question would be, what's a regolith? So it basically means a blanket of unconsolidated, loose, heterogeneous superficial deposits covering the solid rock. Cool, right? The rover is collecting these samples because it may have a possible return to Earth. You see, if it won't get these samples, then NASA won't send in another rocket to get it back. It's like you perform and then you get to go back home. So, why do we need these rocks? Do we plan on building a castle on Earth with rocks from Mars? Nah, that's not it. The rocks and the regolith can help us to determine whether life on Mars is present or not, or is it possible for us to live on it. It's like planning for a distant future, basically planning for a time when Earth becomes unlivable. But now we come back to the topic of the video. How was it able to extract the oxygen on the surface of Mars? When it was first operated in a test run on Earth, it produced 5 grams of oxygen, which can allow an average human being to breathe for 10 minutes. But now the only problem was the composition of air on Mars, which was a bit weird as opposed to Earth. Oxygen in Earth's atmosphere is 21%, whereas on Mars it is only 0.13%. So to make oxygen, it had to break the bonds of carbon dioxide molecules to separate out the oxygen and carbon monoxide. But to do this, it had to increase the temperature to 800 degrees Celsius. Mind you, MOXIE, the device which had been sent to Mars to produce oxygen on Mars, was only a test model. Remember that part. You will need it for consideration by the end of all this. Okay, great, but what is the huge deal about producing oxygen on Mars? Why do we need to do this? Hypothetically, it is because if humans ever find a way to reach Mars, then we would not only use this oxygen to breathe, but would also need an oxidizer to fuel our engines, cause if we ever need to come back to Earth. Okay, you need to know what an oxidizer is. It is a substance that reacts with fire to allow it to burn. In this case, oxygen is the oxidizer. Now, the planning and making of the Perseverance rover would not have been a cheap task. What, as per you, could have been the total expenditure just to put a rover on Mars? The total cost incurred amounted up to $2.9 billion. For the Indian audience, it is approximately a little below 22 kharab, a number that has 11 zeros. I wonder how many times you would have heard that number, kharab. According to me, spending $2.9 billion on sending out a rover to Mars, that too a test model, was highly nonsensical. There are people today on Earth who are starving, fighting diseases, facing poverty, no decent place to live, not even clean water to drink, people dying because they don't have enough to survive. Leave aside the topic of clothing and education and sanitation. Look at these people living in third world countries like Somalia, Chad, Mali, etc. And now look at this Mars rover. Finally, look at this number in rupees: 220000000000. Now here is a question that could tickle your mind. Should we invest in a present that we are living today, or should we invest in a future which is not even certain would exist? Do we need to provide this child basic need to drink clean water, or do we invest an amount like that on placing a rover on Mars? Let me know in the comments what you think, and thank you for staying with me.